Thank you, Joretta. I believe that we are saved through story. I came to a committed relationship with Jesus, who delights in diversity, through my father, a UCC pastor whose chosen name was Jessica. Her story is powerfully a part of my own. I serve at Hennepin Avenue, as you heard, in Minneapolis. I've been lead pastor there for all of 5 whole months. And I have been in ministry with Hennepin, though, for decades, because as our downtown cathedral church, Hennepin has helped to story what it means to be a United Methodist in Minnesota. So I'll tell some stories about Hennepin and other churches. The stories feature the power of lay and clergy leaders and the relentless power of the Holy Spirit. In 1994, one of Hennepin's pastors, the Reverend Martha Postlewaite, heard the heartbreak of a gay choir member, and so she took the sense that Hennepin should become a reconciling church to the council, and they approved it. And the whole annual conference felt the power of that decision. Hennepin's decision to be one of the first churches in Minnesota to become reconciling empowered all of us who were hungry to practice an articulated welcome in a freed up movement. So if Hennepin could do it, so could we. But I'm told that inside the church, there wasn't a whole lot done to examine what it really meant to be reconciling. And so that continued until Bruce Robbins was appointed to Hennepin Avenue. A couple approached Bruce to do a wedding in the sanctuary. He sought an altar for all policy to be adopted by Hennepin, and the church voted against it. Church leaders and members were afraid, I am told, that they would be escorted out of the connection if they took that kind of stand. It was a community and heart-wrenching thing. Bruce retired 2 years ago under the leadership of Judy Zabel. The church approved an altar for all policy. This past September, we celebrated with anyone who would come to the party the anniversary of the first legal gay marriage in the world. 52 years ago, the Reverend Roger Lynn, who is now on staff at Hennepin, officiated a gay marriage in a living room. 3 months ago, we celebrated that marriage with the couple, Michael and Jack, and Roger, present in the sanctuary of Hennepin Avenue. The congregation rose to its feet, and they applauded the power of the love and the witness, and there was pride, and there was joy, and there was grief that this issue continues to harm so many. So, other stories. I've been privileged to work, as was mentioned, with other churches to become reconciling. I served in Duluth, Minnesota, at Duluth First United Methodist Church. And 23 years ago, I shared a conversation with a closeted colleague. There was a plan to join with other United Methodist and other faith communities to create a welcoming conference, a way to equip churches to provide welcome. So we created a regional conference called Opening Our Doors in partnership with Episcopalians and the United Church of Christ folk and Jewish folk and Lutheran and Catholic and Presbyterians and people who probably didn't know what they were, but they wanted to learn the ways of full inclusion. So we invited workshop leaders and preachers, and that conference ran for 10 consecutive years. It changed the city of Duluth. And not only did First United Methodist become reconciling, but other churches in the area of other denominations also took the votes needed to become their version of reconciling congregations. And we built together around the justice issue of full inclusion, the sorts of relationships where we could pivot and support each other with other justice issues. After moving from Duluth to Minneapolis, where I served in at Richfield, we started another conference with other kindred spirit. And the first of the two conferences was offered in the Twin Cities, and it was held at Hennepin Avenue, United Methodist Church. And Bruce Robbins, who was the lead pastor at the time, welcomed us with deep grace. Bishop Carcano came to preach. The Human Rights Campaign and Outfront Minnesota co-sponsored with us. Mel White and others came to teach. And we were able to produce a play called Mrs. Man of God about a closeted United Methodist pastor and his spouse. And there was a mixed voice chorus that came to sing our hearts into connection. And the sanctuary of the church that I now serve bears the echoes of that witness yet. So in both Duluth and in Richfield, we used the arts. We brought in a theater troupe. We sought people in our congregations willing to tell their stories, parents and grandparents, gay and lesbian kin in our midst, who were astoundingly generous in their willingness to share their hearts and their stories. We sought coalitions and resources. We joined in civic organizing and annual conference organizing because we wanted to defeat an anti-marriage amendment here in Minnesota, and it was defeated. In 2019, the Minnesota Annual Conference adopted a visionary aspirational statement attesting to our conviction that the United Methodist Church is meant to practice the means of living grace through fully including all. And in 2019, the Reverend Marilyn Evans, my co-conspirator in the first Opening Our Doors conference, preached an annual conference, and she told the story of what it was to live closeted and unable to openly share in community the miracle of her love with her wife. Her story opened hearts. Marilyn died 2 years ago, and her witness lives on. So I guess what I want to say is that moving into full inclusion does not have to be done perfectly. Hennepin did not do it perfectly. No church does it perfectly, but we're still trying to figure it out as we move together toward perfection. But my own advice to myself and all of us is that we do this justice work guided by the wisdom of Mr. Rogers. Look for the helpers. One step, one story, one witness, one conversation, one voice, and one choice at a time creates a movement. We are living the expansive and the alive yet story of Jesus Christ. And it's a story we get to share with joy and gratitude. And I'm so glad to be in your company. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thanks.